Encrypting a drive on a Mac made easy. macOS 10.12 Sierra Edition. Some background information first. Many people have important and confidential data on unencrypted, removable storage devices. For example, USB hard drives, USB flash drives, secure digital or SD cards, and other types of removable media. If lost or stolen, the data on these drives can be easily accessible by anyone. These drives go by many names. For example, USB drive, USB stick, thumb drive, pen drive, jump drive, and flash drive, just to name a few. Here are some drives that can be encrypted on a Mac. For example, on the left you see a Western Digital 4TB hard drive. On the top right you see a Lexar 128GB flash drive. Below that you'll see a blue SanDisk 32GB thumb drive. And lastly, a SanDisk 1GB secure digital or SD card. If your Mac has a USB 3.0 port, which most Macs since 2012 do, you should use a USB 3.0 compatible media for this project, as on-the-fly encryption can slow down the reading and writing to and from an external drive. The accepted convention for USB 3.0 drives is that the USB end will have a blue plastic insert. So let's get started. Most drives come pre-formatted for Windows, so you'll have to reformat the drive for encrypted use on the Mac. Formatting prepares a disk to store information. On the Mac, the disk format we'll use is called GUID partition map. Please note that once you format a disk for a Mac, it is not compatible with the Windows operating system, and Windows will not be able to access any of the contents of that disk. Please insert your drive into the Mac's USB port to get started. In a moment or two, the drive should mount onto your Mac's desktop. Hold down Command and touch Spacebar to bring up the Spotlight search. When Spotlight search shows up, type Disk Utility and press Return. A warning: please note that when you reformat this media, you are effectively erasing it so that any existing data on it, such as files, folders, programs, etc., will be lost. If you're using existing media, always check to see if you have important data on that media first. If you do, you should consider copying or backing up the data on that media to another media first, so that you can then copy it back to the encrypted media later. This video will be recorded in real time so that you can get a sense of how long it will actually take you to format and encrypt this drive. So let's begin. I will insert the USB drive into the USB port of the Mac, and in a moment its icon will mount onto the desktop. In this case, you should see a disk by the name of No Name appear on the Mac's desktop. There it is. Okay. Next, I want to double-click on this icon to verify that there are no files or anything that I need to keep before proceeding. So I'm simply going to double-click it. A window will open up and you will see the name of the drive, in this case No Name, at the top, and you will see 0 items and the actual formatted capacity on this drive. In this case, 16 gigabytes are available. I will close the window by clicking on the red dot in the upper left-hand corner of that window. Next, I will bring up Disk Utility. The easiest way to do this is to bring up Spotlight Search by hitting the Command key, which is the key immediately to the left or right of the spacebar, and then tapping the spacebar. Typing in Disk for Disk Utility, a menu should pop up and Disk Utility should be highlighted. I'm hitting Return or Enter, and that brings up the Disk Utility program. You will go to the External section and choose the topmost icon, which has the same name as your drive. So in this case, Lexar USB flash drive. I'm selecting that, and I'm going to click on Erase. At this point, you will give the drive a name, anything you want it to be. Okay, and the format will be macOS Extended Journaled, and the scheme will be GUID partition map. Again, format macOS Extended Journaled, and the scheme will be GUID partition map. The next thing you'll do is click on Erase. Please note that sometimes this process fails, and if it does, simply repeat it to get the drive formatted properly. So I'm clicking Erase, and in a moment or two it should unmount the drive, format it, and then remount it. Now this could take a moment or two, so be patient. It failed. Click on Done and then click on Erase. Again, make sure to give it a name. Make sure the format is macOS Extended Journaled, and change the scheme if it's different to GUID partition map. Click Erase. Okay, it appears to be formatting the drive, and it now will mount to the disk to the drive desktop. Okay, the process is complete. Click on Done. Then you will click on the red dot in the upper left-hand corner to close the disk utility application. The next step is we want to make sure the drive has been formatted properly, just to be sure. You can click on the drive once and hit Command, which is again the key to the left and right of the spacebar. So Command and then I as in info. You will note that the format does say Mac OS Extended Journaled, so it was formatted correctly. The next thing we will want to do is actually encrypt the drive itself. This can be accomplished in a couple of different manners. One is to hold down the control key and click on the icon. That will bring up a secondary menu, and one of the choices is Encrypt 16 GB Lexar. The other method is to perform what they call a secondary click, and you will want to make sure that you have secondary click enabled in the system preferences of your computer, specifically the mouse and or trackpad settings. So I'm executing a secondary click, and I'm going to choose Encrypt 16 GB Lexar. At this point, it's going to ask you for an encryption password. This password could be anything you want it to be. You will have to enter it in twice. And give yourself a good password hint so that you don't forget this. Please note, if you forget the password for this drive, the data will be lost forever. I'm going to click on Encrypt Disk. This process can take approximately a minute. Again, I'm doing this in real time so that you can see how long it actually does take. At this point, although not visible on the camera, you will see the light on your drive flash while it's encrypting. Again, this process could take up to about a minute, so please be patient. Obviously, the larger the drive that you're formatting and encrypting, the longer this will take. That's a good sign. It's unmounted from the desktop. It's probably encrypting now, and a moment or two, it should mount back to the desktop. And there it is. Okay, let's verify that the drive is in fact encrypted. I'm going to click on it once, hit Command I as in info, and you will see here the format says Mac OS Extended, Journaled, and Encrypted. Okay. Now let's eject the drive and reinsert it and see if it prompts us for a password. Please note you should always drag this icon down to the trash can, which will actually turn into an eject symbol because it is a volume, before removing it from the computer. That makes sure it is removed safely and there's little chance of data being lost. Okay, I'm going to pull the drive out of the USB port on the Mac, and I'm going to simply reinsert it. It should prompt us for a password if everything goes to plan. And there it is. Now I'm going to type in some gibberish, and you notice it will not let me into the contents of that disk unless I supply the correct password. Please note though, when you do enter the correct password, I'd recommend that you leave the remember this password in my keychain prompt unchecked, as that defeats the entire purpose of having an encrypted pen drive if in fact that password is stored on your Mac's keychain. So we'll click on unlock, and there is the disk again, and it can be accessed just as any disk can. Okay. Last thing, again, when you go to remove a drive from your Mac, the best thing to do is to do a control click and choose eject and whatever the name of the drive is. Wait for the icon to fully disappear from the Mac's desktop before removing, and that's all there is to it. Thank you for watching.